Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is going to be the seventh video of the programming fundamentals playlist, and in this video we are going to cover again very important concept. Actually, it's a programming fundamentals playlist, so every concept is very important and is very core concepts of every programming. Okay, of every programming language actually. Okay, so in this video we are going to cover control statements and let me open the VS Code. Okay, so in this video we are going to cover control statements. Control statements are actually of three types. First is sequential, second is selection, and third is repetition. This is first is sequential, which is default mode and linear sequence of statements. Like every statement executes after another. Okay, first execute this line and then execute this line and then execute this line. Okay, so this is actually the sequential mode of the programs, and this is default mode. Okay, so the second control statement of the programs are selection. Okay, so in this we made decisions branching, choosing between two or more alternative paths. And example is if, else, and simple if, switch are the example of the selection. We are going to cover all these in this video. Okay, so don't worry. Third is repetition. Repetition is also the third control statement which is used to loop the particular statement. Like if I want to run this statement again and again, so I have to use the control statement of repetition. An example of repetition control statements are actually also called loops, and these are while, do while, and for loop. For loop is very common, and we are also going to cover it in this video. Okay, so without wasting any time, let me start. And before start, again, I there is a side note I want to mention, that there is a lot of theoretical part I mentioned in this file. So don't worry, I am not going to read that all, but I will speak, or I will speak and you have to listen it carefully. Okay, I am not going to read the all theoretical part, but just listen me. Okay, so here is the if statement. So if keyword is used to execute a statement or block, and if I say after a condition, like here is the syntax of if. I will also give you some examples. Okay, here is if, condition, and statement. If this condition can be any. Okay, I am going to discuss these conditions, but for now use just imagine that there is a condition, and if this condition get true, then this statement will get executed. If true, then then this statement will get executed. Okay, so this is actually the case here. This is actually simple if. Okay, we discuss about simple if, then we have if else, and then we have switch statement. We are going to cover all this, but here I am discussing simple if, that this is actually the syntax. Here we put our condition, and here is the condition that we want to execute after that condition say true. If the condition get false, then this statement will not get execute, and the remaining part of the program will execute. Okay, so this is actually the simple if statement. Next is if else statement. In this statement, we tell the compiler that if this condition meet, then execute this statement. If this condition get false, then execute this statement. Okay, and this is actually the syntax of if else. If this condition get true, then execute this. If get false, then execute this. Above we do not mention the else statement, and this will simply, it always goes to the this below part. Always go below part. Below part doesn't matter condition true or false. Okay, it always execute the remaining part of the program. But if we put something in the else block, okay, so if we put something in else block, then it means that if this condition get false, then execute this else block statement. Okay, so this is simply if else. And then we have if else if. that if we have condition, that if we check the condition then it get false, then we have else if, then we again check another condition, if again get false, then we execute our else statement block. If this get true then execute this, if this get true then execute this, and remaining of the blocks will be skipped by the compiler. Okay, if this get true, all these blocks are neglected by the compiler, because he or it finds the actual condition or true condition and execute a statement. If false, then this condition, then this statement, and ignore this part. Okay, and this is actually the end, and after the else statement it will also execute the remaining of the part. Okay, till now we discuss about the if else if, and now I am going to discuss about nested if, that nested mean inside. Okay, so here we discuss actually simple if, and if we put another if in this statement, then it is to be called as nested if. Okay, so nested if is nothing like if this condition get true, then check this condition and execute some part of this condition. Here you can say here is a statement actually which you want to execute. Okay, first check this condition, if this condition get true, then again check this condition, and if this condition also get true, then execute this statement. This is actually the nested if, and there is also a else case. This is actually the else case of this one, and this is actually the else case of first one. Okay, so we start first if always, first if else it always be in the end of the a statement, like this if else, this is one, and its else is block is here, and this is second if, and its block of else is here. Okay, so this is actually the case that if we the first if has its else block in the end. Okay, so you can say. Okay, next is switch statement. Before switch statement, I want to discuss the examples of if else statements. Okay, so here I am going to simply write header file. I know it's taking time, but sorry for that. Okay, okay, so this is actually the okay, so this is actually the body of C++. Okay, so now we are going to cover if else if. Suppose I have int is equal to n, and I also have b which is equal to 20. Okay, so now I have to check that a is greater than b or not. Okay, so in with the human mind we can say that a is smaller than b, but a compiler or computer do not know that or doesn't know that this is actually what is the case which is greater and small. So in this case uh, we are going to use if else condition in the programming language. Like we are now going to add condition if. Okay, so this is if syntax, and I am going to write if a, I am going to check greater than or not. If a, this is greater sign, if a greater than b, then print. Actually this C out is nothing but it's actually the syntax in C++ for displaying anything. Okay, so don't worry about it. So if a greater than b, then display a is okay, a is greater than b. Okay, so absolutely this condition is actually false, and it will execute the remaining of the part of the remaining remaining part. Okay, so okay, so if I execute this program, you know what would be the output. It checks the condition, and if it finds that a is not greater than b, then it will skip this statement because condition is false, and execute the remaining part of the program. Okay, I'm not going to run this because I think there is some errors in my compiler. Yeah, there are some errors in my compiler. It's not actually about the program, but it's my laptop or VS Code fault. Somehow I think construction is not working of C++ in VS Code, but I will fix it soon. And don't worry about it. But the what will be the output? I am just going to tell you. The output of this will be remaining part because the condition is false. Okay, so now you want to add that if this condition false, then absolute thing that b is greater than a. Okay, so here you can add the else block of if that say, and let me copy this for saving time, and here you can see b is greater than a. Okay, so this is actually the else case. So this is if else, and if we want to add if else if, so again I am going to put a condition here, and I am saying that b greater than a. Okay, this is second condition which is true, and then I am going to which is true, then it will display the b is greater than a and then execute the remaining part. Okay, so this will be the output of this program. Now I am going to discuss if else. Like here is else block also. If both conditions get false, like I let me equal the both. Now they no one is greater and smaller. Both are equal. So now the case is that it will execute the else condition in which I am going to write both are equal. Okay, so and then it will execute the remaining part because the below part after the if else if statements, it will absolutely execute the remaining part of the program. Okay, so this is actually the if else if program which I want to show you. Okay, so this all about the if else if, which is the second case of selection, and in selection we discuss about if else and if simple if, and now we are going to discuss switch. And again switch statement, there is a lot of theoretical part in the switch statement, but I am not going to cover this. I am going to just speak, you have to listen and you will get all the concepts of switch statement. Okay, so this is actually the complete syntax. Sorry, this is actually the complete syntax of switch, and this is actually the program which we are implementing after using the switch statement. Okay, so what is the syntax? Let me discuss the syntax first. So here is switch keyword and expression. Expression can be anything, like you can write here like int is equal to 10. For example, you are writing int is equal to 10, and here you pass a. Okay, in this expression you pass a. So here is the syntax. It will this switch statement will execute each case. Like you can see here. Here is a case. Here is a case, and here is a default. This will execute if above cases do not met the condition which we are passing here, or expression which we are passing here. Okay, if it doesn't meet the expression, if the case do not meet the expression we pass in the switch statement, then you can say that it will execute the default statement. So simple syntax, it's very similar to if else, but there are some cases where we have to use switch statement instead of if else. Okay, so this is actually the case. Now let me discuss its example so that it will give you more and more understanding of the switch statement. Okay. Mm, yeah. Okay. Now I am going to paste it here. Okay. Sorry for the format of the program. Okay. This is actually the case now. Okay. Here I stored day. Day is equal to 8 and store it into the integer type variable with the name day. Okay. In the switch statement, I am passing the expression day, and day contains 8. Okay, so if this day or 8 meet any case which is below here, then it will execute that statement and execute the break. I am coming to that, but now we are passing day expression in the switch statement, and this is day contains 8 value. Okay, so it will come to the first case, and this is actually the syntax, and this is actually not the part of the syntax, but this is the value which we want to met, which we want to met with the expression we are passing here. Okay, in the syntax I discussed that, yeah, in the syntax I am discussing that this is here expression and constant expression which you want to meet with this expression. Okay, so here I am going to write one, that this day may contain one, this day may contain two, this day may contain three, four, five, six, seven, and so on. Okay, so now the case is that day contains 8, it will come here in the case 1, and in the case 1 it finds 1 and it is not matching the expression, so it will skip this statement. Okay, because it's not matching. It comes in the second case, and here is the value is 2, but it's not matching the expression, it will also skip this and continue. We have case 7 which is not again matching the expression, so it will also skip this. Okay, in the default we have uh, we have the value inappropriate value. Okay, we are displaying that inappropriate value, that you enter something that is inappropriate, like there are 7 days in a week, not 8, so I entered here 8, so this is inappropriate value. So our program is saying that you enter inappropriate value which is not exist in the day or week. Okay, so this is actually the case. Now what if I put 7 here? Now 7, it will come and find that in the 7 case that here is R7 and it's matching the expression, and now it will execute this statement and which contains Sunday, and it will display the Sunday, and then we have break statement which will stop the remaining part of the switch statement. Like here it finds 7 and executes the Sunday and prints the Sunday and then break. It will not execute the default statement. If I remove this break, then it will execute this default statement. Okay, so here we have to write break in every statement, so that if when it met the expression, then it should break, not execute the remaining statement which is after the particular case. Okay, so this is all about the switch case. Okay, now we complete our if else simple if and switch. Okay, so next part is going to about repetition. Okay, so and repetition actually the control statement, which is the third statement, control statement repetition, which contains actually looping and loops which are while, do, while, for. Now we are going to discuss these loops. Okay, first of all we are going to discuss while loop. Okay, and in this loop there is a syntax while, condition, and statement. If this condition gets true, then it will execute this statement, and again it will go above condition, and again if this get true, and again it will execute this statement, because this is loop, and while is a keyword which is a loop, and if this execute this statement again and again until this condition get false. Okay, when this condition get false, then it will come out from this out of this block or this loop. Okay, so this is actually the case of loop, while loop, and now we are going to discuss. Okay, so let me give you example of while loop. Okay, so here I'm going to paste it. Like here I write num is equal to 0, which is a variable. You are very familiar with it. Now while num less than or is equal to 10. Okay, so num is 0, num is less than, like 0 is less than or equal to 10. Yeah, this condition is true that 0 is less than 10. So then it will execute the this statement which is printing the num which is now 0, and it will print, let me write, it will print 0. Okay, so very next statement, we increment, which we in the operators we learn about the increment operator, which is This is actually the post increment, that if first it reads and then an increment. So first it reads 0 and incremented value is 1. Now num is 1 and 1 again less than 10. So again it will execute this condition and again increment. Now the value will become 2 and now the value of num is 2 and 2 is again less than 10. So it will continue so on until this condition falls, and this condition get false when here we get 10 and print the 10, and now 10 is incremented to 11. So here is 11 and here again condition, in a condition checking, 11 is less than or is equal to 10. This condition get false and it will execute the remaining statement after this loop. After this loop, if there is here is now nothing condition here or nothing statement here, but it will execute the remaining statement. Like here I am going to write remaining. Okay, so this type of statement will execute after the condition get false. So this is example of loop, while loop. Okay, now next is do while loop. Do while is nothing, it's very similar to while loop, but syntax is different, and there is one thing more in it, that if we want to execute our statement once, it doesn't matter condition is true or false, but we want our statement to run at least once. Okay, so let me give you an example of the do while loop. Let me copy it from here, and now I am going to give you an example of do while loop. Okay, so I mistakenly, okay, so this is actually the case of do while loop. Sorry for the background noise, and again there is a lot of noise, I know, but I am sorry for that. Okay, so again, int num is equal to 0, do while condition. It's actually not a condition, it's actually a loop. So what do? Do means do. Okay, doing of something. This shows that execute this condition and increment num value. Like here num is 0, it will multiply 2 multiply 0 and it will 0. Okay, so now the value which is going to print 0, num is 0 and it will increment it to 1. Okay, so now this will definite or absolute thing which is going to be print and increment. Okay, this is absolute thing, this is always happen when we use do while loop, because do while loop allows you to run your statements at least once, because it syntax shows that I will first print the values or run the or execute the statement, then I will check the condition. Now it's going to check the condition, and num is now not 0 but 1 because we incremented it, and 1 is less than 10 and condition is true, then again it will execute this statement. If this condition get false, then it will going to run this remaining part of the program. Okay, so this is actually the do while loop, which execute at least once your condition. It doesn't matter your condition is true or false at the first time. Okay, so this is all about the do while loop. Now we are going to discuss very important loop, for loop. Okay, so there are modern variations in the syntax of for loop, but they are actually derived from the for loop. So for loop is core and it's very important loop which we are using in most of the languages. Okay, so what is the syntax? That we declare a variable and condition and then increment decrement like we see in the while and do while loop, and then the statement which we want to execute. Okay, so let me take an example. Okay, so this is example and I am going to put it here. Yeah. Okay, simply where I do nothing. Just okay, I just take a variable int number, then using a for loop, and as a beginner, let me add this for you. It doesn't matter, but for just for the sake of okay. So here is the variable int number which is initialized with nothing, but here in the for loop this is syntax of the for loop that first we declare or initialize a variable, then we put some condition on the variable we declare or initialize. That is here we are putting some condition and then increment. Okay, so what will be the hierarchy of the for loop? First it will check the first it will initialize the variable not with the name. Here is the name is number which initialize it with 1, and it will check the condition 1 is less than and it is equal to 10. Condition is true. Without going here, first it will go in this block and execute this statement cout number is now 1. Okay, so it will initialize the variable, check the condition and execute. Okay, and so if it was some interruption at my side, again I am going to uh, elaborate to it. First it will initialize or declare the variable, then it will check the condition, then it will execute the statement. Okay, without going to this part of the for loop. Okay, first initialize and declare and then check and then execute the statement if this condition is true. If false, then it will get out of the loop. Okay, so here is the actually the loop. First it will declare or initialize, check the condition, if the condition is true then execute, then again now it will come here and increment the variable, now again check the condition and then execute the statement. If the statement is false, it will exit the loop. Okay, so this is actually all about the loop for loop, and it's nothing more than it. It's simply it's simple initialization first, then condition, and if the condition is true, then it will execute, and after execution, it will increment and then again check. So this is a hierarchy of the for loop. Okay, so that's all about the for loop, and there is can be also a case that I am saying that declaring an initialization before I was just initializing, now I am declaring and initializing. Okay, so this is also true. This doesn't matter. Okay, so this is actually the about the for loop. Okay, so now uh, okay, so now I am I think it's all about the for loop. This is actually the another thing which we can use in the C++, but I am not going to mention here because it's a beginner level. Okay, so nested loops. As we discussed about the nested if, that if condition contains another if, in the nested loop we are going to do a for loop, and for loop contains another for loop. This is called as nested loop, and the syntax of the for loop will be remain same, but it's simply nested. Where outer loop contains an inner loop, you can say. This is called as a nested loop. What will be the let me copy it so that I can elaborate it to you. Yeah, I think it's all. Okay, so here I have a variable table with the name of table and with the name of max. Then I have outer loop. First it will check this condition and then execute this statement of the for loop, and then again it will initialize and declare and check the condition, and then it will execute its condition which is here. Let me put it here. It will execute the statements of this loop. If this condition gets true, then it will execute this statement. If condition get false, then it will get out of the this loop and it will enter again this loop. Okay, so this is actually the nested loop, nothing more than it, a loop inside loop, and if this condition true, this will execute, and this condition get true, increment, again true, increment, false, then it will get out of this loop, enters in this loop, again increment and check the condition. If the condition get false, and this will get out of all both of the loops. Okay, so this is actually the simple, and then execute the remaining of the statements of the program. So this is all about the nested loops. Now I am going to discuss about the break statement. Break statement is nothing. I discuss it in the if no, it's I discuss it in the switch statement, and you can say switch control statement. Okay, so in the switch If we discuss about the break is nothing but stop the execution and skip the remaining of the lines. Like here I mentioned break in switch used to stop, and whereas break terminates on after the current loop. Okay, so this is actually nothing but a keyword which we use to stop the execution. Before the frequently we use it, but we are can also use it in the loops. Like here, I am using it in the if else, and we can also use it. Okay, while and in the while you can use break anywhere where you want stop the execution. Then again we have another keyword with the name of continue. Continue we didn't discuss now, but continue is something that you want to let me read the theoretical part of it for you. You cannot use a continue anywhere but inside a loop, and its effect is to directly jump to the next loop iteration. When you want to skip a particular iteration but remain in the loop, you should use the continue statement. Okay, so I hope you understand it. What is the difference in the break and the continue? Break is something like if you write here break, it will stop all of the execution and execute after the statements of the while loop or if statement. Okay, it will execute, it will stop all of the execution in which it is declared and execute the meaning of part of the program. While on the other hand, continue is is what we use in the loop, and in the loops if we want to skip some statement, like here I mentioned that if the nb is nothing but variable that we are using. If nb double is equal to, I discussed that it's for the comparison. Okay, so it's comparing that if nb is equal to 5 then continue. Here I am saying that if nb is equal to 5 then I don't want to execute this statement. Okay, I don't want to execute this statement, but I also don't want to exit this loop. Okay, I also don't want to exit this loop. I also don't want to print this statement. Print this statement when nb is equal to double five. So I can use continue, which will skip this statement and increment or decrement the nb value, and again condition check and all that. Okay, so this is all about the continue statement. Okay, if you want to skip this condition and to want from the loop to exit, then you can use break keyword here. Okay, so that's all about the today lecture and nothing more than it. Thank you very much, and Allah Hafiz.